Hey, good afternoon, good morning, something like that. Welcome back for another episode. I was going to say edition, that came out all wrong, of What's Cooking with Big Poppi. So today, on this Saturday, we are going to do chili. This is what we're going to end up with, this big old pot of chili. Like that. That's my dinner. So, it's finally cool enough, and it is football season, so I'm glad we can make stuff like this. So hang on, we'll be right back and we'll show you how I put this together. Thanks.
Dennis, tell me, what goes in your chili?
Why? It's funny you should ask, Sonia, because I have all the ingredients right here. Well, almost all of them. I use chuck roast for the meat. A lot of people use different things. Some people may use hamburger, whatever. I use chuck roast, and this is new from HEB. It's Wagyu chuck roast. It's got a lot of marbling in it, so when I brown it in the pan with the peppers and onions, it'll get really tender, and especially after about 8 hours in a crock pot, it'll be pretty much melt in your mouth. Cut up some green bell peppers, a yellow bell pepper, a couple onions, and all these will go in a pan, and I'll just brown them up real quick with some garlic and salt and pepper, and then slice up a bunch of serranos. These aren't super hot, but they're pretty tasty. I don't use an exact amount. I don't use an exact amount of any of the ingredients when I make this chili. It never comes out exactly the same twice, but it always comes out good. Just depends on the flavor and the taste of what we're feeling at the time. And then obviously we use some jalapenos. I'll cut these up and take the seeds out just so it's not quite as hot. But sometimes I use 3, 4, 5, 6 of them in the crock pot. And obviously we'll get to some other stuff. We'll get to the tomatoes and all that in just a minute. So did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, I'm gonna get to doing some prep work now, and when I come back, we'll start putting stuff in the crock pot. Okay, so you saw all the prep work that we had to do to get this stuff ready. I did just 1 bell pepper and 1 onion, and I got it here. I'm going to brown it all up in some olive oil real good. Get them cooking before I put this meat in. And like I was saying earlier, this is that Wagyu chuck roast from HEB. It's got a lot of fat in it. It's really marbled. So when it cooks up, and especially being in a crock pot for 6 to 8 hours, it should be super tender. And I try to cut these up little bite-sized pieces, or maybe even smaller, so that when you're eating the chili, you just don't have a bite of meat. You can have everything together, some beans and tomatoes and vegetables all mixed in. So, and then once we put the meat in, we're obviously going to put the greatest ingredient ever, garlic, a tablespoon or so of that, and some salt and pepper. And so these onions are going to cook for a couple minutes before I put the meat in. I don't really do the meat super done. I just get it brown all the way around on the outside, just so it's not raw when I put it in the crock pot. And we're just going to get back to work now. Sonia, you got any questions?
No, sir.
Good answer. We'll be back. All right, so as you can see, I browned all this meat up with the peppers and onions. I leave the juice, the water, whatever you want to call it, from the pan dump it right in the crock pot with the rest of it. I just think it helps with the flavor of it. And what I'm going to do is, I've cut up, 4 or 5 of these little serranos, and what I like to do is just take a little spoon, and no one wants to eat this. It doesn't look good either. So I just scrape that out with a spoon real quick in the garbage. It just takes 1 or 2 times. like that, and you get all the seeds out. You can do the same with the jalapenos. Just makes it easy. Just make sure if you got any dogs or animals running around that you don't fling some seeds somewhere and then the dog get a hold of one of these pepper seeds. It's funny at first, and then you realize, oh my gosh, my dog is in pain because she ate a jalapeno seed. But so I think I'm going to do 4 or 5 of these jalapenos, and then I want to go into a little bit of what I put in as far as the tomatoes in the chili, because that's the base. I used the petite diced tomatoes, a couple big cans of them. It's never an exact science. It just depends on what all ingredients we put in. And then I used regular tomato sauce to give it, to thin it out a little bit so it's not so thick. And then as we go, depending on how the chili looks, if it's thicker or thinner, I may put some tomato paste in there because that thickens it up a little bit. You don't want tomato soup for chili. It's not a good look. No one likes that. I like thick, meaty chili, almost like a stew. I'm not sure what everybody likes. Everybody does theirs a little differently. And then I also put beans in my chili. Yes.
Beans?
Beans? Yes, I put beans in chili. And I know we're in Texas, and that may be a cardinal sin here in Texas to put beans in your chili, but I put beans in the chili. People like it. They eat it, and we never have chili go to waste in our house. Even our boys, they're kind of picky eaters. I know when our son Cody, when we moved here to Texas, he stayed in Florida, lived with his grandma for a couple of years, and he said to Sonia one time, he's like, yeah, I miss Dennis's chili. Grandma's isn't quite like the way Dennis makes it. So.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom. But good for Cody that he's here in Texas now and he can eat our chili. And I do want to give a shout out to one of my brothers from the Citadel, Kevin Rippey. I know you're watching. You did a chili request about a month or 2 ago, and I told you I'd make chili once it got a little cooler here in Texas, and it got to be about football season, and seeing how we're in about week 4 of football season, and I think today it's only going to be about 87 here in Austin. I figured it was cool enough to start the chili. So I would like it to be a little bit cooler, but as it is, we're just going to have to go with it. So you see how I'm going to cut these jalapenos up into little tiny pieces. That way you don't get one giant bite of jalapeno. And I think that's the whole thing of how I do this chili. You don't want one bite to be just one particular thing. When you're eating it, you want it to be able to have everything mixed in together. That's why I cut the meat pretty small and all the veggies pretty small.
That's small?
Yeah, it's smallish.
Smallish, okay.
But it's gonna cook. It's gonna cook down some more.
Yes, it will.
We just hadn't even got going on the crockpot session of it. But so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish cutting these peppers up. It may seem like a ton of peppers. Maybe it's a little overkill.
Are you gonna put all of it in there?
I don't know. Maybe.
You just
wing
do
it.
it by feel? Or?
Yeah, we do it by feel and do it however it looks. And what I do is I'll probably cut all of these up and then hold some in reserve, just kind of save them. And then as it cooks here over the rest of the afternoon, we'll do a little taste test here and there and see if it's too hot or if it's not hot enough. Because you want it, I like it a little spicy, but you don't want it to where it kills your tongue and nobody can enjoy it. I like to eat my chili with some cheese on top and maybe a little dollop of sour cream. Sometimes Sonia will make rice and we'll put our chili over rice. That's normally the second day of our chili routine. But I'm going to cut up a few more of these, get the can opener out, and start opening some tomatoes and combining everything here in the crock pot. Still got to cut up the yellow onion. Probably one more.
Is that a pepper?
It's a pepper, yellow pepper. There's my first goof up. My first and only goof up.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to cut up the yellow pepper, some of these other peppers, the green one, and get the can opener out, and then we'll be back for some more. Here is the next part. The beans. Cause of controversy, but that's okay. As you can see, we use the highest quality beans in all of our products here. Some kidney beans, dark beans, chili beans. I put 3 cans for a crock pot, so in you go.
So you use a variety? Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got chili beans and dark kidney beans?
Yep. And then there was another can of mixed beans. So.
Okay. Nice.
And I got 2 big cans of petite diced tomatoes, sauce and all. And it really just depends on what I have room for in the crock pot as to how much of everything goes in. And a lot of this will cook down, so I use that whole yellow pepper.
So you only used 1 bell pepper?
1 green bell pepper, and that was used in the pan cooking with the meat.
Okay.
And let's put this can of sauce in here. Probably put another can of tomatoes and another can of sauce.
Really? It looks so full.
That's not even close. If it doesn't go to the edge, it's not full.
Okay.
Best can opener ever.
Oh,
Yep.
nice.
I don't get paid for that. I wish I did. Now we're getting close. We're cooking. Plop. That was fun. So let me just check this out real quick. Yeah, we're probably close enough to where we need to be. So now comes the really the fun part. Funner, however you want to. The good part. For what we use for seasoning, obviously, garlic. About 1.5 pounds of chili powder. That's just not really a joke, but black pepper, cumin, and salt. But I wait towards the end to put more salt in.
Yeah, you don't want to.
I don't want to put it. You don't want to put too much in right off the bat, because then you could wind up with some troubles. So
how much do you put in of each?
some.
Okay.
You'll see. And I taste test periodically throughout the day. That's about a good start. It just depends. Kind of play with it.
You may want to use the other side.
Yeah, I opened the wrong one. Don't be afraid to use spices in your food. To be honest with you, that'll be good. This is such a large amount of meat and such a large amount of food that you don't realize how much spices it takes to give it a lot of flavor. It may look like a ton of chili powder, but it's really not for this amount of food.
Don't forget your cumin.
Yep, I just wanted to get it all off the top so I could see how much I'm doing.
Ah, I see.
Thank you for reminding me anyways. Cumin's pretty strong. It goes a long way.
You want to do it from the other.
Yeah. That's probably a good start on all of them. What's it smell like, Sonia?
Smells like spices.
I'm surprised you're not sneezing right yet. So, I'm going to turn this on high to crock pot for a couple hours, get it all cooking down good together. And probably after 2 to 3 hours, I'll come back and check it and take a taste, adjust, throw some more seasoning in, and no secrets, folks. It's just being willing to throw some stuff in the crock pot and experiment with it to what you like. And through a lot of eating of chili, this is kind of how I like to make it. So we'll be back after a couple hours, maybe, and then we can eat dinner hopefully this afternoon. Whew, it's been a long 7.5 hours smelling this in the house. That's how long I've had this in the crock pot. It's thickened up a little bit. Chili was a little thin, so I did a little secret. Took a couple tablespoons of flour, mix it up in a bowl with some hot water, get it all dissolved real good. You put it into chili, let it sit mix it up in about an hour or so. It thickens up your soups or stews or chili, what have you. It's just a good little trick. So I am going to get just a little bit. I don't want to eat too much and ruin my dinner. But that looks like chili. There's not much else to see. So, but I'm glad y'all hung around this long. 3 or 4 times during the cooking process, I check it, stir it up, add more spices to it. I always do. Like I said, add salt last so that you don't overkill it, because it's hard to adjust that. So it was pretty good. It's got good flavor, and that meat, that Wagyu chuck roast that I got at HEB is like absolute butter after cooking for 7.5 hours in the crock pot. So this is really good. I'm looking forward to having dinner now, and thank y'all for hanging out. Until next time, remember Proverbs 17:17. Thank you.